back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast right here from Soonerscoop.com, where the entire crew is here and sort of here. We're kind of in the new podcast studio, so we're going to kind of have some guys in and out, but the whole crew is here. Even Josh from On the Road, who is currently in the Dallas area, going about 4 or 5 different practices today. He just couldn't handle it. We moved to On 3. He's like, we got to get out on the road. So he's going nuts today, and we'll just welcome him in now just to get things started off. When you hear the road noise, that's when you know Josh has unmuted himself, and we don't hear any road noise yet. So maybe he's turned everybody off. Josh,
I'm here.
Oh, okay, you've unmuted yourself successfly.
Yes, I have unmuted myself, and all the OU fans will be excited to know just had a run-in with Garrett Riley at Lindale High School watching Casey Poe. So
well, he's done nothing wrong other than have a bastard brother.
Interestingly enough, my first time to be that close to Garrett Riley, he doesn't look as much like Lincoln as I thought he did. Like they're more dissimilar than I expected.
He looks more alpha, is what you're saying.
I mean that's a way to put it. Sure, he wouldn't have gotten mad about some Twitter spat. Like I feel pretty confident about that.
Do you think that he had the hair procedure already done, like he learned from Lincoln?
It does look cleaner. I think it is safe to say he is as a married guy, I can say this, not that there's anything wrong with that he is a more handsome man than Lincoln Riley. So congrats to Garrett
jaw,
on that.
probably, I would say, just from pictures and seeing him on TV.
This is all very hateful for the Riley family. I don't approve of it, and I'm going to show maturity and growth by
trying to get back.
I support Lincoln Riley, and I support the contingent all out in Los Angeles.
This is all about
I
getting
feel like
unblocked.
Eddie has turned heel on being the heel. Like he's
I never said anything bad about the guy.
Why did you get blocked then?
Because I've said this multiple times. It's because people kept tagging me in very hateful things that were intended to go to Lincoln Riley.
And he's
sick not mad at me. Yeah, he just, I think, didn't want to see it anymore. I never said anything.
I mean, I appreciate him calling George and telling him he didn't want to talk to him.
No, you can't back out of the corner now. You've dug yourself this hole, Carey. You're the one that is going after his all of his everything about him.
I almost paid the heaviest price.
I have
for telling the truth.
I have made qualms. I have moved on.
Isn't making qualms anyway? So Josh, you're out and about on the road. Tell us a little bit what's going on, at least while you have cell service.
Yeah. I
He's in the middle of Dallas.
Making my way across.
Did you not hear the beginning of the show?
Outside of Dallas. I'm technically in East Texas at this point, but I am not too far out. Just got started. Like you said, Carey, with On 3, I was like, okay, now I can get out and get on the road. I feel like I've been sitting on my hands for about a month waiting to kind of do something. So got out, started this morning at Nigel Smith, Oklahoma's big defensive line offer. Had, I think, an interview people are going to love. Like, it was one of those things where he kept talking and he was answering in such length with some of the questions I was asking. And it's certainly not about my questions being special. I understand that. But he was so good and so gracious with his time that it ended up being like a 10-minute interview. And I kept asking him throughout. I was like, Nigel, do you need to go? And he's like, no, we're good. We're good. And I was like, okay. So I'm just going to keep pushing on. And, I might have asked him 6 or 7 questions like the whole time. It was just he was so verbose in what he was talking about and was very clear, in his affinity for Oklahoma. And I mentioned it on the board. He discussed, some of the conversations that he and Joseph Jonah Ajanye, who I saw last week, have had about, the potential for that defensive line class with those two, David Stone and Williams Nwaneri. So it was I think people are really going to enjoy that interview because he talked at great length about all 6 of his official visit schools, answered some kind of particular questions about Oklahoma. So there was a lot there that I thought was kind of interesting. And then headed over to see Kevin Sperry, Oklahoma's 25 quarterback commitment. That was a little more just, obviously he's committed. There wasn't as much ground to cover. LSU's quarterback coach, Joe Sloan, was there. I thought that was kind of interesting after I know Notre Dame stopped by to see him yesterday. So this is a guy that I think maybe nationally isn't as well recognized right now. But I can tell you the first thing his head coach, I believe it's Wilkinson. I'm going to blank out on his first name. He walks up and goes, "Oklahoma got the best quarterback in the state of Texas in 2025." Like that was literally the first sentence out of his mouth, and I was like, "Okay." So, and I saw some things today. He does some stuff that is kind of wow. Like if he can put it all together and it can be consistent, there's a lot of potential there. And my last stop so far, I've got a couple more to hit. Was Casey Poe, the big offensive lineman from Glendale out in East Texas, that I mentioned seeing Garrett Riley there, along with Thomas Austin, their offensive line coach. Spoke with Casey afterwards. He talked about, all his official visits coming up. He's planning to be done by the end of July. So, and Oklahoma will get his final official visit. So I think there is a lot of reason to feel good about that situation. I kind of wonder if this doesn't come down to like Clemson, Texas Tech, and OU. Like there's some variables in there. I think Texas Tech's done a really good job. Clemson has, the program that the Soul program is kind of based on. Brent took it from Clemson. He took that idea, and that's something he answered specifically in our interview. It's something that really mattered a lot to him and something he really bought into. So I think all three interviews have gone really well. I've had a chance to talk with some coaches. Even I mentioned Clemson's offensive line coach Thomas Austin is a former teammate of Miguel Chavis and wanted to make sure that if we were to run into Miguel Chavis, we gave him a little bit of grief on his behalf.
So outside of this, I mean, obviously, it's just kind of guys out, spring practices. You're coming to Oklahoma here in a couple weeks. I mean, from now and then, how many more guys do you think you'll end up seeing?
Well, between now and like you said, I'll be in Oklahoma the last week of May, and that's going to be crazy just because there's so many in-state offers out right now in Oklahoma, and a lot of good team camps. So there's a lot of opportunities to see a lot of guys. But around Texas, like today, I'm on my way right now to Duncanville, going to go see Caden Durham, who, I'm going to have some stuff in Woke and Scoop this week on him, just kind of where his priority is for Oklahoma. Also, Decorian Moore, the 2025 wide receiver that might be the number one wide receiver in the country next year that I know Emmett Jones has a really good relationship with. I will say, I don't want anybody to get their hopes up. At Duncanville, they don't allow interviews practice. So we're not going to be able to talk with Caden Durham or Decorian Moore, but hopefully I can catch up with them, some point here in the next week. But from there, going to see Michael Hawkins. I may get up to see Eli Bowen. It's just going to kind of depend on traffic and the schedule. So we'll see how that goes. But at bare minimum, 5 practices are getting in today. Then I plan to see Beaumont United. I'm going to go see Fort Bend Christian and Bennett Warren and Max. I'm blanking on his last name. Granville, the defensive line offer in 2025. So I would think between now and that Oklahoma trip, I'll see somewhere around 8 to 10 more OU offers and hopefully have as many interviews as possible. So there should be plenty of good content still coming.
And Josh, you've seen Nigel Smith time and time again. How different did he look today compared to who he's been in the past?
That's a perfectly timed there, Bob, because it stood out to me. I thought he had leaned out a little bit, looked like maybe he'd lost, I don't know if you want to call it baby fat, because it wasn't like he was carrying around a bunch of bad weight. He's a big, sturdy dude. But just looked like maybe added a little more muscle, lost a little bit of fat, and just looked really impressive, kind of to the point where I said, okay, maybe he could play defensive end. I said it on the board. I still think as a 3-technique defensive tackle playing at like 290, 295, man, he could be really good because he's super active. He's great with his hands. He's incredibly long. There's a lot that makes sense to me in that role. But at the same time, I mean, he's twitchy enough to play outside. I mean, if it's one of those things where if Ethan Downs and Reggie Grimes can play outside, he can play outside. I mean, there's enough burst there. I think we're all still kind of figuring out what the parameters are for the defensive end position, like how much is just pure burst a part of it, how much is it size. But no, I like Nigel Smith a lot. I think he is, again, that's the interesting thing about, we talk about these 4 defensive linemen that OU is so big on. I don't think, probably with the exception of Williams Nwaneri, is there any guy that I'm dead set on this is where he'll play, because I think they all have pretty unique body types and can move around kind of depending on maybe where they're best or what OU's greatest need is.
You think that's an issue for him between end and tackle? Is that something he's worried about? Is he talking with Chavis more or Bates more? Or
in the interview, he mentioned both of them. He talked about, I think he deals with Miguel Chavis more. I don't think there's any question about that. But he definitely talks to Todd Bates plenty and talked about how much he respects Bates' background as a coach and all the defensive line guys he's turned out. And, kind of how much that helps, his comfort level. Because, I mean, he was very honest that, I'm looking at places that can develop you and have a track record of, they've put out NFL defensive linemen and those kind of things. So I think talking to him, my impression is pretty much what everybody seems to assume, is this could come down to OU and Ohio State. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. Obviously, Larry Johnson, Ohio State's legendary defensive line coach, was there along with Jim Knowles today. So they're putting on the full court press. I know Oklahoma's been by several times, so that's going to be a dogfight. And I know Penn State's impressed him. He's got some family ties to New Jersey. I know there was a lot of questions about Rutgers, and he talked about that in the interview. And then obviously Texas and A&M. Texas getting the final official visit in early September, and Nigel's planning to decide on September 8th. I think at his first home game at Melissa's new stadium that they built, which is a freaking it's the next cathedral of Texas high school football. It's a beautiful stadium, and seeing it this morning, about 3/4 done. So they but as far as I said all this and didn't really answer the heart of your question, Bob. Yeah, I don't think that's any big issue for Nigel. I think he's a guy that understands he's a bit of a tweener, and it's going to be kind of how his body develops in college.
Somebody that you had already referenced, Joseph Jonah Ajonye. We've already run the interview that you had. He was one of the first guys that you went out to see during the spring, Josh. I know that one of the things that I think that piqued a lot of people's ears when he mentioned it during your interview was Georgia, and he set up that visit here coming up in a matter of a couple weeks. I guess, how serious of a threat is that when he mentions that they are a dream school for him?
Oh, I mean, it's Georgia, and it's a defensive lineman. Like, you have to acknowledge that's a possibility. I still think it'll be like, I think and it's kind of a cop-out answer, and I know it, but you'll know more once he gets back from Georgia, if it gives him kind of those I don't know, butterflies, however you want to put it, because Oklahoma, like, you can tell there's a special spot for him for Oklahoma. He just loved the campus, loved everything about it, loves the coaching staff and how he's kind of talked to them. And, I mentioned it, he talked with, and Nigel discussed it at length, but they spoke yesterday, literally yesterday. And Nigel referenced, hey, there was some conversation about what that defensive line class at Oklahoma could be. Now, Nigel, very smart, like I said, kind of a little more reserved about his feelings than Joseph, was very clear that, hey, man, I'm looking at all these huge schools. A lot of them are going to have great defensive line classes, So he kind of separated himself a little bit from that. I think, again, with Joseph, Georgia is absolutely a factor. I think Oregon is interesting. I can't help but wonder if it's going to be a little bit of a middle ground between he and his mother. Like, he's at Oklahoma, and that's farther away from home than I get the impression she would like. And he talked about it. Some people are going to have to make sacrifices, I think is what he said. And I think maybe that can be a middle. Maybe if he really loves Georgia, And she's like, I'd like you to be a little closer to home. Maybe Oklahoma can be the soft middle. I don't know. But I do think it's his decision. And I think even with that Georgia offer, I think if he decided right now, he'd pick Oklahoma. But we'll see how it feels when he comes back from back from Georgia. The one thing I'll continue to remind people of who are like, oh, we've seen this before, he'll go to Georgia. Don't forget, PJ Adebawore took a visit to Georgia last year too, and about 2.5 months later committed to Oklahoma. So it doesn't – I mean, Oklahoma's fought this fight. Brent Venables and Todd Bates have recruited against Georgia for a long time. They know what they're recruiting against. They understand the game. This isn't a foregone conclusion either way.
I think it's important to take a minute, Josh, and just remind people of what we've got going on. If you haven't been catching up with the pods, you just haven't been online, Sooner Scoop has moved. We've left Rivals.com. We are now with On3. And we have a special promotion that we want you guys to take advantage of. Like, take advantage of us. We're here for you. It's $1 for 6 months. And that's all. I mean, it's just $1, and you get 6 months of Soonerscoop.com, our new format, new website. It's all fresh and clean and new car smelly. So come on, and everybody, we want everybody to sign up. If you're listening to the pod and you're like, yeah, I listen to the pod, I don't know if I'm going to subscribe to the website. Like, now's the time. I mean, pay $1, come see what we're all about. George Stoya is just sitting here staring at us because we're not letting him on the pod right now. And he's been doing a fantastic job. Just got some new stuff up every day. I mean, new stuff is coming up on the site. And the one thing about On3 is, we are writing a lot more. We're putting up a lot more content than we've ever done. And we want you guys to know that is not just a intro trial promo deal. Like, that's for the rest of our lives. Like, we've got a bigger team. We're putting out more content. We're going to be putting out more podcasts, more video, more YouTube. All that's coming, and we're very close to having our podcast on YouTube. But everything you do, even the merch store at Soonerscoopstore.com, everything helps us keep building what we built. The monster that is Sooner Scoop, and you can get in now for just $1. So go check it out. No reason not to sign up. And if you were wondering what happened to us at the old website, we left, and we didn't really get a chance to say much about that, except on the final day. So a lot of people did not know that we've moved and couldn't figure out why our website was like it is now. It's because we're gone, and we went to something better, to On3, and it's a better website, better experience, better Sooner Scoop. So get it for $1 over the next until the end of October. You'll have full access. And guys, I mean, feel free, Josh, to chime in, or guys, just kind of about your thoughts on the move. I will say this, just thank you so much to the community that is Sooner Scoop. I mean, I know, Eddie, you said this a couple days into it, like, you wouldn't even know that we're at a different website from all the people that have moved over and started posting on the Crimson Corner.
Yeah, it was literally like one of those memes or GIFs where, a guy's walking into a party and it's already started or something like that. So quite different than what is it, the Parks and Recs, where the guy walks in with the into a house fire, basically, with the pizza. It was like the opposite.
Community.
Yes. It was like the opposite of that. It's gone well, though.
Yeah, it really has. It's been amazing. I can't believe the response. And, to Carey's point, I know people will say, oh, you guys have talked about this. We are still getting literally hundreds of people moving in each day. And they're the most common response is, I didn't know you guys had moved yet. So there are still people out there that this is the first they're hearing about this. They had no idea. For whatever reason, they were on vacation or they were doing any of 100 things. They just didn't know. And so, one of the things that I think is interesting about On3, and I saw it for the first time today, Carey, I don't know about you, On3 keeps a stat list of who, which, moderator, owner, publisher, writer, whatever you want to say, who posts the most on their board, who produces the most story. I'm competitive as hell. I want to be up there on all those things. So, we are going to be very active. We are going to do all of that. If only for my own personal glory, I will be up there as often as I possibly can be, because, again, it's a really good.
Inside Texas, just shut them out. Bobby Burton and those guys, they put the kibosh on this call.
It's better than walking to a bathroom or something. Taylor Ham's right behind you. So
I will say it is an honor to be on the same network as Justin Wells from Inside Texas, who has the greatest Big 12 question to Walt Anderson ever.
Big 12 media today, basically, that's the backstory, right?
Right.
Asked Walt Anderson about the
He
what was
the
it?
head
A no
well,
call.
they had the head of officials, and what it was,
It's
they
the
played
portion of the Big
Oklahoma
12 media
State.
nobody ever pays attention to.
It sometimes is the best media session you can go to, but most people don't pay attention to it. But so it was the year after OSU went to Texas and beat them, and I think it was the first ever college football game where I saw defensive holding called on a run play.
That's right.
And it was like, I'd never heard of that before. And there was also like a re-kick, like a punt
there was something with the
punt.
punt. It
got blocked, and it like any.
I'm trying to remember.
And
Yeah.
also, Charlie Strong was the coach, and the ref bumped into him, and then the ref threw a 15-yard penalty flag on Charlie Strong, and so
We're about. It's the time.
wow, that was a really long talk that no one had just heard from you, Josh. If you just stopped talking. We moved on. I think he's
What
done.
happened? Where did I come from?
Well, we just did a whole thing on Justin Wells from Inside Texas and the greatest press conference question ever. But it basically asked Walt Anderson what type of system they had, and he named off like, when I saw 4
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
9 egregious that I would tab as egregious. And Walt Anderson was like, well, you have a different grading system than I do. But it was fantastic. I think we still play that on the radio to this day. But Josh, can you hear us? Are you back with us?
Yeah. I had no idea. I probably went on a minute tirade. I apologize. I was selling the hell out of everything.
Just saved everyone from that. So, no, but it just to cap it off, without Josh going into another minute diatribe, $1 a month, go sign up. And let me just tell you this, if delete all your old bookmarks. If you're a scooper, clear the cache in your browser. Just type in Soonerscoop.com. If it's taken to the old place, do that. Clear your cache, delete your bookmarks. Type in Soonerscoop.com. It'll take you to On3, and then bookmark everything from there. So we got you taken care of. Josh, anything else you want to hit on recruiting before we let you drive safely the rest of the way?
No, I can't really. I mean, again, you're starting to see official visits. I since we've talked, I had a long conversation with David Stone late last week. We've already run some of that content. I feel as good as I have in a while on Dave. I think Oklahoma's out there. And, something I hinted at last week that was in that story is Gerald McCoy is involved in that recruit. He is in contact. They are, like I said, guys from similar parts of the city in Oklahoma City. They've got kind of similar backgrounds. And I think Gerald has made a very positive impact with more than just David. So, we'll keep an eye on that. But I continue to like where Oklahoma is for him right now.
All right. Well, you're starting to get fuzzy on us, so we'll let you get out of here. But Josh, appreciate it. We'll be back again next week, hopefully in your studio, so be a little bit better. But we appreciate you taking some time to join us while you're driving around.
Of course, guys. You say something terrible after I'm gone, I'll be listening. I'll hear it all.
We will. All right. It is time for the Enjoy Vision Fresh Perspective Look Around. And really, all eyes kind of on softball right now. I mean, golf, the NCAA tournament coming up. I know, George, you've got a really good story on the golf program coming up that you've been working on for quite some time. And then we've got recruiting and camp season. But Bob, let's start with you. I mean, regionals coming up. Sooners pull it out.
Tournament
Bedlam
first.
Sweep.
Big 12 tournament.
Big 12. That's what I meant. Big 12 tournament. And I was just, are there any challengers? I mean, it's going to be interesting because I have to think, Baylor, for instance, like it seems like their team that's on the bubble.
They just swept Texas, though.
Yeah, they just swept Texas.
So they're feeling pretty good, and that's what's weird about the tournament.
Being the only ones that have beaten Oklahoma all year, like that's a nice little feather in your cap.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. I think what's weird with the Big 12 tournament is that everything else beyond that is like, best 2 or 3 or double elimination. This is like, there's a fluke chance to happen. I think it's this weekend. I still don't think it happens, but you're going to have a lot of rain.
Well, it happened last year. I mean, Oklahoma State beat them.
There's going to be a lot of rain that's going to play into things. Don't know when games are if they're going to get off on as scheduled. But with just that single game format, just, one bad outing from a pitcher or one dead outing from the bats, and you could look at a loss. I still don't really see it going down, but this would be the weekend that I would sort of circle. But then I'd go, wait a minute, they're still angry about not winning last year's, so maybe this isn't, something that can actually happen.
You think that they just lead with Storako in everything that they do from here on out?
Jordy.
Or going with Jordy then?
Jordy. I mean, you can tell she's the Friday pitcher, in terms of like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. She's been first for the last few weeks.
Ever since after that Texas series, she's just been climbing and climbing.
Yeah, and that LSU game was just huge. The confidence they showed in her and her ability to respond to that. I mean, she's been tremendous, and that's why, she's one of the top 10, finalists for National Player of the Year to go along with Jada Coleman, Tiara Jennings. You got 3 of the 10 right there in your dugout. But, yeah, I mean, and that's why it's so hard to envision teams getting the best of the Sooners going down the road, because maybe you get them once. But you got Storako, Nicole May, and Jordan. Like, there's not going to be – it doesn't feel like there's going to be a moment where all of them are not at their best and they fall apart. So it just feels like maybe this weekend, but this team is it's a machine, it's a complete team, and it should be a lot of fun to watch.
How worried are you about Kinsey Hansen?
A little bit. That'll definitely be a question for Patty when we get to talk to her this afternoon. Did she just miss Saturday and Sunday because they had the Big 12 wrapped up? Really nothing on the line. And,
I wondered like if it was kind of a Patty's like FU, the ball really did hit her in the hand. Like it wasn't off the bat.
So, but I mean, they are a different team when Kinsey is in the lineup. So that'll be something to definitely watch as we go forward in the weekend. And it also, moving parts, not necessarily her position, but it allowed Alina Torres to have a really nice weekend. And you had Sydney Sanders with some, again, sort of coming on through, and is more of those players that you can believe in and trust in these clutch moments. Again, it's just there's no easy part of that lineup.
Here's a question I have. It's an embarrassment of riches at the pitching position. If we see Deal, is it a bad thing, or do you think that that's just Patty trying to put her in another good situation?
And that's my number one question going into today. How different has Kirsten felt since you trusted her in the 7th inning in Bedlam? I thought for sure Alex was coming in. I was like, you had Jordy pitch Friday. Nicole did everything she could Saturday. Okay, Deal, you got that strikeout on the 6th. That's awesome. But we want to be able to close this game out. And the fact that they went right back to her and she delivered, like how much of a confidence booster is that for a true freshman at this point in the season?
Any worries about maybe a slight slump at the top of that lineup right now?
No, I mean,
Jada Coleman's Jada Coleman, but still.
Tiara came up with the big hit on Saturday,
true.
and then Grace Lyons had 3 runs batted in on Sunday. I am a little curious as to will there be a set batting order? That changes a lot game to game, but I still feel confident.
Well, Sydney Sanders, I mean, there was some change in the lineup with
her.
her.
I mean, Sydney's been batting 3rd, so, like, is that something that's going to, as we get into postseason play, do you want that locked down, or will it still be just kind of based on who you're going up against and her gut feel of who gives them the best chance at what spot in the order?
Truly an embarrassment of riches when we're talking about, like, are they going to have and I know that they're on the 41-game winning streak and 6 shy of tying Arizona's record, but it's still like one of those things that I just crack up about coming out of the Stillwater sweep. And you're talking about, well, the biggest thing that maybe came out of there was they just couldn't get any base hits with the bases loaded.
That was weird, though, because that had happened so many times on Friday and Saturday, and especially Saturday, that first inning, bases loaded, no outs. You put like a 3 or 4 spot there and get OSU thinking. Instead, you don't score, and it took Torres to get that two-run double there on Sunday for their first hit with bases loaded. But that was a very strange feeling. But Patty will embrace that because she'll say, all right, there's something to learn from it. There's something, we can't keep leaving all these runners on base. Eventually, that's going to cost us. And so for a team that's if you're 49-1, what the heck can you work on? Something like that helps.
This is like I almost feel shame because I have so many things I want to ask you about with softball. Like when did this happen? When did I become this person? But like, I thought that Erickson actually looked pretty good in the Bedlam series. Like she's earned. She had that big slump. I think it started around Iowa State, where she had that surge, that initial surge, and you're just like, wow, this might be the next big thing at Oklahoma. And then she just struggled for a while and got taken out of the lineup. Now she's starting to hit the ball a little bit well. And I'll say this, and it's I'm afraid to say it because she drives motorcycles and has a full sleeve, but I think Haley Lee's cooled off a little bit.
Just a little, yeah. They're going through
She
peaks.
did have a home run taken away from her.
Yes, they're going through some peaks and valleys, and that's why I think you're seeing some changes in the batting order. So you want to call it a wake-up call? Sure. Just like, hey, we know what you can do, but based on what you have been doing, we're going to make a couple changes. But that's another thing. Erickson coming back. It's huge.
It puts pressure on the other hitter. Like Riley Boone got hit for the other day. I mean, like if those those guys are coming along and they're not in the starting lineup, like you better be 2 for 3 or something in this game. You better be hitting the ball well, or we'll take your at bat away late in the game.
And the best person for that, Nugent, she always understands. I don't know when my number's going to be called, but I'm going to be ready and I'm going to make the most of it. And she has time and time again, and that's of course a luxury that this team has. That they can go good, 4 or 5 deep into the bench, and you're not going to see that dramatic drop off.
No, but I would say, I didn't mean to hit on the entire starting lineup, but I would say that, Grace Lyons definitely seeing the ball really well, Eddie, as if she had laser vision.
And she might have. I bet, and if she did, where she probably went?
Where would she have gone?
I think it would have probably been Enjoy Vision, which is the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City. Not even close. Combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care, which was life-changing for me. I've told the story once. I'll tell it again. Went in, easy, 2-3 hour process. Had a couple appointments before. They took great care of me, even gave me a Valium. So it was rather easy. And if any unofficial 40 listener would be interested in Enjoy Vision and getting LASIK, $400 off. Just go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter NJOY with me.com. Promo code U40 for $400 off. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
I do have a question for you, Eddie. Would you like to be like a Valium tester so you can make sure it doesn't have fentanyl in it?
Well, they have fentanyl strips for that.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah. That you're supposed to use, but
Well, maybe you could have the strip and test it still.
I'll take my chances.
All right. We appreciate Enjoy Vision and love them being a part of the show. So,
logging all this video, you kind of do need a little fentanyl to just kind of stay locked in.
I think Adderall, maybe.
Well, you could do that too. I think that'd probably be the safer version.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, like we're now. It's been so hectic around here. I mean, it really ever since Brent Venables got hired, it's just been kind of nonstop, and then going through a 6 and 7 season, and then recruiting. A top 5 recruiting class, and all that's going on. And I'm in the middle of heading up the negotiations for our whatever we were going to do in the future, and that took forever and was a daily grind for about 4 months, and I couldn't tell anybody about it. But it really kept me from kind of doing what we're doing now, Eddie, which is getting after all the video that we've got, logging it, getting in the system so we can start producing more stuff here in the studios. And we've got the studios just about finished now, at least the pod room. So, I mean, it's crazy. All this has happened since the end of the season.
Yeah, it's all kind of come together. And, obviously we were able to do the live show on the Sunday night when we announced for On 3. And, I think that came together pretty good, all things considered, from what you might have saw as a viewer or a listener, not behind the scenes as we were running around or you were running around. We were trying to get everything figured out. But, it's all come together. And I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do moving forward here over the next couple months and leading into the season, obviously, will be a lot of fun. And, I think that the beginning of what will be year number 2 under Brent Venables, or if you want to say it's already started, it's going to be quite interesting. And, I think that as we, I guess, kind of segue from the Enjoy Vision recap, we could probably talk about what has happened still last week with the announcement of the SEC stuff that George wrote about on Friday.
Yeah, George, I guess if you want to switch, you and Bob want to switch up here, we can kind of get into some of that. But, not emergency, but a special Regents meeting was called to formally put the stamp on the move to the SEC, which, it has been announced and everybody knew it was happening. But to have a day where the university and President Harris all got together and made it official, it was just kind of one of those things that needed to happen. And really signifies kind of the fan base to donors, boosters, whoever, like, okay, now it's full speed ahead. Even though there's just one season left to play, we know where we're really, focusing on for the distant future.
Yeah, I thought it was, one of those things that it's just officially official type deal, right? There wasn't too much to it. I did think it was interesting hearing, President Harris actually speak. I don't think we've heard from him, at least – in a media setting, in some time. So to hear him kind of talk about, the decision to leave early, which it basically was, I think that everybody knows that they wanted to leave early. They wanted to get into the SEC. They want to be in there for year one of the new, television deal between ESPN and SEC. And then I think the Big 12 with their new commissioner, Brett Yormark, they're welcoming new teams. I think it just was a best fit for everybody to move on and move a year early. And to be clear, I know there was some misconception out there from a few people. They are paying money to leave the conference early. I know there were some people that were tweeting.
They're leaving money behind. They're leaving money on the table.
They are not getting their revenue share of the TV deal,
which could be up to $50 million.
Yes, it'll be somewhere in the $40 to $50 million range. So they are, losing money in the sense that they are leaving early. So I know that narrative's out there, but
and I'm sure it's worked for most partners in the SEC and most and what's important to note is it's the 8 legacy schools that get that money, like BYU and Cincinnati and Houston. They don't get any of that.
Right, correct. It's the 8, founding, or I guess not founding, but original members that are staying behind that are getting that money. So I thought it was interesting, and then obviously stuck around and got to talk to Joe a little bit about Bedlam, which I wrote about last week, and it sounds like that's going to happen in other sports. As soon as next, 2024. As for football, and I wrote about this, it sounds like that's still a ways away from happening. And it doesn't sound like it's because the two sides don't want to do it. I know there's some, thoughts out there that OSU didn't want to play it. And I think, months ago that might have been the case, or OU didn't want to play it. I don't think that's the case anymore. It sounds like they want to make it happen. It's just a scheduling issue. And you look at OSU's schedule specifically, they've got a Power 5 team, non-conference team lined up the next almost 8 years. OU has a couple openings here and there, but I'm sure they're also thinking, hey, we would like some easy non-conference opponents with the first few years in the SEC. So I think that's going to happen eventually. Joe C wants to make that happen. I think OSU wants to make it happen. It just might be, probably till the 2030s for it to actually happen.
Bob, I think we have a FedEx here. You mind?
Ask them if they want on the pod.
The FedEx guy? No, he's too busy. He's frantic.
We're doing a Q pod if you want to come in.
No, I think the one thing that I never really noticed or paid attention to, I don't even know the answer. Did Texas and A&M play in any other sports, or are they split completely?
No, they play.
They do play? Okay.
And in fact, over the last couple seasons, they've done midweek baseball games. Now, they've played in the NCAA tournament and stuff as well.
Right.
But, they play regular season just non-con games on Tuesday or Wednesday nights in baseball. I know for a fact in baseball. I don't know if they've played in basketball.
I don't think they have.
I don't remember them playing each other.
And I don't know if they play in softball either. So it might be something that is decently new.
Yeah. It sounds like, though, Castiglione basically said all other sports they're going to play OSU, and it sounds like they're going to have that scheduled out as soon as the calendar year is up. So we should have a better picture of those sort of things. Now, of course, next season they're still in the Big 12, so softball you'll still have Bedlam next year, baseball, all that, basketball. They're but the next academic year, it sounds like they're going to try and play OSU in every sport.
And I like that. I mean, I think it needed to happen. It's beneficial for really all the sports that need it. The softball. I mean, that's going to become an even bigger. And I know Patty was asked, like, would you like to see it be like Norman, Hall of Fame, Stillwater? And I think that's the way it'll end up being. But like that game at Hall of Fame could generate a lot of revenue for both programs.
Yeah, and how about playing at Owen Field? I mean, we just got, we might need to get Bob back on.
Do we need? I think don't we need to kind of put that to rest?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I just don't get the sense that Joe C. Like they've looked at it before. You've seen the things where people put in the stadium inside the stadium. Like I just don't see how it's safe. There's no foul territory.
It's the feasibility of it is very low. And Joe even talked about, they looked at it years ago doing it, and it wasn't going to work. Now, I know there's some talk of doing stadium renovations. I saw there was a thread on the board. I don't know if you guys saw this about, that they might possibly get rid of some of the first few rows to make the sidelines bigger. If that were the case, maybe you have some more room. Even then, I think it might be tough to squeeze it in there. I do think that they'll look at doing something else. Joe even hinted at looking at, maybe a different stadium. I was trying to think where that would be. Like, I can't think of another, arena or stadium that's that big to play at. But I think that they're obviously looking at options for something like that. But at the end of the day, I just don't think it's possible. I mean, they're looking at creative ideas to do something.
Yeah,
but
It's a fun idea.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the reason that Nebraska's able to do it is because you can plop a volleyball court basically down anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to have I wouldn't be surprised. They could probably get 60,000 people into the stadium if they want to go take like grounders or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna swing the mic around to Bob and let him kind of give the Patty, because she's spoken at least once now officially.
Yeah, she's like, what did I just get myself into? She got caught up in the moment talking about it, and now she's like, well, we can make it happen. Let's try to figure it out, because there's been a lot of times this season where she's reflected back on, I couldn't believe there's 2,000 people at Hall of Fame Stadium, and then now there's 9,000 people for regular season games. It's like, why can't we keep pushing envelope and seeing just how far we can go? And then she's like, do you do it for a game? Do you do it for a series? Is there a special team you want to bring in for it? But she just loves that, Joe C is willing to even hear that type of talk and really consider how could we try to make this happen.
If they do have it, it needs to be against somebody bad and just make it like a home run derby. Just hitting balls into the stands.
Well, they do that for regular games. I don't know how that'd be any different.
Yeah, anytime they play someone that's not considered elite, that's what their games
I'm just saying,
are.
don't bring in like UCLA and like somehow lose the game,
Yeah.
I mean, you could go to you'd have to go to Arlington or something, wouldn't you? Probably.
For what?
To have a, I don't know, what does Arlington even seat? 45?
Arlington what?
The baseball stadium.
Oh, the Ranger
Globe Life?
Stadium.
Ranger Stadium.
I think it's like 60. It's
maybe
massive.
they could play there. Maybe. I mean, I don't know if they have some sort of in there, but maybe that's an option. I have no idea. I mean, if they went down there, I
just can't think of anything else close that could host that. I mean, like you said, I don't think Jerry World. Well, Jerry World has bigger sidelines, but I don't know if it's that big.
What about the Star? Probably not. I'm not.
No, the Star's tiny. No, yeah.
Okay.
They don't even. It's not even big. It's barely big enough for.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it's 40,300. The new Ranger Stadium.
Okay, so 40. I said 45.
Globe Life.
40.
Yeah,
I mean, if you made it a specific weekend, early, well, it'd have to be after football season or spring, probably. Well, it wouldn't have to be, but I don't know what you'd have to. Yeah, I mean, they start in February, right? So it's like, what would that weekend be? I don't know. So it's interesting to talk about, but I don't see it happening at Owen Field.
No, unless they do the renovations, like I said. Even then, even if you take out, because I know again there's talk about taking out the first 4 rows or whatever. Even then, you're still talking about a shorter outfield. Like, it wouldn't extend it because, like, even looking at the map,
and you're still having problems with foul territory.
Yeah,
on one side.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, I know that they probably could not sell enough prime shrimp to make that renovation happen. But you can get prime shrimp at your home. It's great restaurant quality food. Like last night, I went home. Like I left here like just before 8. I was like, man, I got some like lean ground beef. I'm gonna make some rice and beef. I got home. I was like, screw that. I'm not waiting for rice to cook and all that. I was like, so I just got in the freezer and got out my garlic and herb prime shrimp, put it in boiling water. In less than 10 minutes, I had restaurant quality meal. So go check them out, primeshrimp.com, Prime shrimp.com. Use the promo code U40, and you will get 25% off your entire order of $50 or more. And that's really just 5 packs and all the different flavors they have. Like I said, the garlic and herb butter, the French quarter Alfredo sauce. If you're like the Cajun stuff, it's just the seasoned, the signature seasoned, or the Cajun shrimp boil. The New Orleans style barbecue is fantastic as well. So just continue supporting those guys that support us. PrimeShrimp.com. Use that promo code U40. You get 25% off your entire order of $50 or more. Was there anything else that SEC wise we got kind of sidetracked on the softball thing?
Was there anything that did surprise you from the border regions? It was just such a like cross the T's, dot the I type thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, even Joe, I was speaking to him a little bit before he did the media scrum, and I was like, hey, you got time for media? And he goes, I don't know what you guys would ask me.
Right. He's like, I saw the only reason I'm laughing about it because it was goddamn funny, okay? No. I saw Kirby Smart talked at a golf tournament this morning for Georgia, and somebody made the comment like, what the hell would he say right now that hasn't been said? It's same thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, Joe and OU have been, saying the same stuff about the SEC move for months. So it wasn't a whole lot of new information, and that's why, I tried to stick around and ask him some stuff about Bedlam, and then I don't know if we want to go into the NIL stuff, but asked him some questions about that and the recent bill that was vetoed by Governor Stitt.
Yeah, I mean,
you usually use a different word in front of that. Interesting.
This segment brought to you by Jacob's Bodywork. Anyway, we've talked about NIL quite
a bit. Took me a minute. At first, I was like, "Did we add a sponsor that I don't know about?"
I don't know if Jacob has a body shop, but shout out to him if he does. I don't know his website.
Everybody wear their seatbelts. We'll just say that.
No, I mean, we've talked about NIL. I think. I was telling George this, like, when he asked me, like, how much NIL should we do? And I was like, I don't think people who really care about football, like, they just want NIL to be good and taken care of. They don't really want the details. And, it's the nerdy people. I don't know if it's the mainstream audience that really cares about information about NIL. I think I've tried to make a fair balance of, bringing it up when it's necessary, but not. We sell T-shirts, that we're putting together as softball NIL. I don't know if I'll just call Lauren Chamberlain and say, hey, what we have this much money, what can we do? Whatever. It's all going to you guys, so we'll figure that out. But it's a lot like everything else. It's probably about like the administration and the move to the SEC and getting in the weeds of that stuff. But what you're talking about, there was a bill that essentially would have allowed universities to start collecting money and then basically use third parties like Sooner Scoop or whoever to carry out those NIL activities.
Correct. I mean, the two biggest takeaways from the bill, and I tried to simplify them the best I could in the story, is, like you said, working with third parties. So, for example, Sooner Scoop or Crimson and Cream or whatever. Basically,
One Oklahoma.
Yeah, they would be able to work more closely. So the money would be sort of funneling through the university and the collective. So that way, players get paid more easily. It's easier to work deals, things like that Joe C. is, and there's multiple athletic directors are very much in favor for. It's also a big deal because many of the SEC states, Florida, Arkansas, Texas is about to pass a bill, are all sort of passing similar bills that's going to give them a leg up when it comes to NIL, and that's obviously going to be a big deal when it comes to recruiting and things like that. So that's number one. Number two is the removal of having to have a license requirement in terms to be an agent. So like right now, if you're an Oklahoma athlete and you want to have an agent or do NIL, you have to have a licensed agent to represent you. This bill would remove that, so like say your dad or your mom or whoever can be your quote unquote agent, which is a big deal because a lot of these kids can't afford a licensed agent like say the Cavender twins.
Sure, and they would want a big. You have to be making a lot of money in order to need one of those. And I think it might be even July until that takes effect in Oklahoma, I believe.
Correct. And then the last one that I'll just say that I think is also sort of just noteworthy because I think it's interesting is that this could allow universities to require student athletes to take a class that basically teaches them about NIL, financial literacy, those sort of things. Right now, that's not a required class. If a football player is, studying to become a doctor, they would not need to take a financial literacy class. With this in place, they could do it. And talking to Joe, they already have a class lined up this summer that's optional. Now, from my understanding, a lot of student athletes that are coming in the summer, incoming freshmen, are going to be in that class because it's one of those quotes that you say it's optional, but it's not really optional.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me too because these collectives that are out there now, they are designed essentially to funnel money to players, and I think we all know that's what's going on. The university would like to say, well, we would like to be in charge of this money that's going to the players because we can control it and make sure, that certain weird things. Like, here's the thing. If you're like Caleb Williams, I'm sorry to mention that name, or Livy Dunn, or, Angel Reese, they have big-time representation. They don't need a university NIL program. They're getting theirs on their own. And if Jackson Arnold becomes a great quarterback here and a Heisman Trophy winner, he'll just go out and do his own NIL stuff. It won't have to be OU will just use all that with the other players that don't have that big, name and following and opportunities. They're more. Joe talked, I know, a lot in the article, and I've talked to him about this. He's trying to find something that's sustainable, something that is kind of holistic, if you will. From the ground up, you build it and you can generate money, and it doesn't have to be something where you're always trying to track down more money. You're coming up with things and opportunities to generate revenue for the athletes.
Yeah, and I think from Joe's perspective too is, and this, the boosters, I think also, and the donors, the people that are donating the money to the collectives, I feel like they would also maybe I'm wrong, they would feel more comfortable donating knowing it's going to someone like Joe C., who's going to put it somewhere that they know it's actually going to be effective maybe. Maybe I'm wrong in assuming that, but I think that it makes more sense that they kind of know where exactly the money's going. Whereas sometimes I think you look at these collectives and you don't always know where it's going. I don't know.
I gotta be honest. I know how the Crimson Corner works. They're not going to be a fan of OU being in charge of the collective. No. They're going to want the bagmen in charge of the collective. They're going to want the guys that promise this 5-star that he's going to get this much money if he comes to OU.
Yeah, the more I think about it, that was a dumb comment by me. So I take that back.
You're thinking in the administrative.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm thinking from what Joe C. said in terms of he wants to be in control of the way it's used.
I wonder if Joe, he's smart. He's a super smart guy. But I wonder if he's thinking from well, if we do this, does that mean Oklahoma or Crimson Cream goes away completely? Well, not if the boosters want to keep supporting them and they're getting things done behind the scenes the way they want to get them done. That Texas A&M, those boosters aren't just going to disappear because Texas A&M is, they launched this before OU and OSU could do it, to where the money is funneled through their 12th Man Foundation.
Yep.
But I guarantee those boosters still want to be able to pay the players, the big-time recruits, what they want to pay them.
Yeah, and the 12th Man Fund is a really good example.
But that's where Congress has to come through. They're the only ones that are going to eliminate that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, too, the bill, another key part of the bill is that this would protect OU from any NIL violations. So the NCAA could not, do any sort of investigations on how they're spending their NIL, how they're delivering it, how the money's being used, which is.
But my question is that their way of monopolizing the NIL market? Because you could certainly say, look, if you're not with NIL with us and you get in trouble, we're not going to protect you. Like, we're going to throw you under the bus.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Sure.
Look, yeah. I
mean, we're getting kind of legal-ish, but I mean,
yeah.
To me, that's a little troubling. Just, that whole we can't get in trouble for NIL activity.
Well, I will say,
because it's a blanket to go to all their players and say, we can't protect you if you're doing NIL outside of our program.
I will say though, and I talked to Darren Heitner, who I don't know if you guys know who he is, but I believe he represents the Cavender twins. He represents multiple athletes in NIL, and I talked to him for some background on this, and I mentioned this part of the bill in there about there's no way for the NCAA to give you violations for this, and he goes, well, that's a dumb clause in there because they haven't given out in the last 2 years one violation for any NIL related things. So he's like, the NCAA is just totally hands off with all of this anyways. He goes, it's a lawless landscape, which is the term I used in the story. That's kind of where it's at, is like some of that. It's like, it's they just need to not worry about it because they're not going to get in trouble anyways, from what I understand. Now, that might change. I don't know. But no school has gotten any NIL violations from the NCAA in the last 2 years, which is pretty crazy. And I know there's the Miami thing that's out there right now, but Darren explained it to me
John Ruiz.
A very complicated way, basically saying it's not NIL related what he was doing. So this is a very complex.
I need this back. It's just so stupid to me because at the end of the day, the only reason NIL is in place, predominantly at football schools, is to pay the 5-star players to come to that school.
Right, yeah.
Correct? Like,
that's how the fans see it. Yeah, I mean but even Joe C will shoot from the rooftops. That's not what NIL was supposed to be, and I think he said that to you during the interview.
Sure, and I understand that, but I respectfully say that's the only reason it's in place. That's the only reason that we're talking about it. And
but here's the thing: it's like you have Angel Reese and you have Livy Dunn.
I was going to say it's done wonders for women athletics.
No, but I mean even Caleb Williams has done well. But what I'm saying is that is really just a fame generated thing. Like Livy Dunn, was she even in? Did she participate at all in the national championships or the regionals?
Yeah, she did. She's really
she's really good on the bar.
She does one thing, right?
Yeah,
but she's not like she's not like the overall. Badass gymnast. I mean, she's just super hot.
She's very attractive, and it helps.
She understands social media.
No, it does.
Like,
it does.
If these schools want
Angel Reese, though, is really good basketball player.
Yes, she won the national championship. And
I mean, look at all the women over at the softball program. I mean, they're very good softball players, and they're taking advantage of that.
And apparently they're all doing really well from what we hear.
But I think that it probably also they get that NIL deal because they're such a good athlete at their respected sport.
It's like Jordy Ball has like a commercial playing on every sports station about some door company.
Sure.
I mean, they bought up advertising on every station. Sure. I mean, I think I've even seen some like on TV. Like, so they're marketable. I mean, people love the softball team. It's like, like Spencer Rattler had all those deals, and after it was over, I'm sure his agent was like, oh, shit, he's not very good. Like, that's the worst case scenario because then all that, it's all worthless basically to the company.
But he doesn't get that hype if he's not a very highly touted quarterback.
Sure, Fowler
with high
wishes they had 2 cars back.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
Here's the bottom line. The reason they want to move the collectives and the money to come through the university, and Carey, you and I talked about this, is because the athletic department and the university would make money off of that.
Yeah.
That's why
the whole thing about the trademarks is in there and all that stuff. They want to be able, and I was reading, anyway, this is too deep into the weeds, but what I was meaning to say earlier is like what universities should be doing is having like influencer training and classes and stuff like that because like it's just like with Michael Turk, like I guarantee he's making a ton of money off his YouTube channel, but he knew how to do it. He'd been doing that before he got to Oklahoma. He'd probably watched a ton of Mr. Beast and all that stuff and learn, like I know he's watching Mr. Beast because he would steal like some of his stuff. But the Paul brothers, all that stuff, like he was versed in all that stuff. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if college athletes can learn to do that, like they can make money on their own. They don't need anybody.
Well, they need to, and that's why I think one of the bigger deals in this is the potential for the class, because like you're saying, they can teach them about, being an influencer, if that's something they want to do, even just simple financial literacy when it comes to obtaining that amount of money is, for an 18, 19-year-old, that comes in. Jackson Arnold, for example, doesn't know what to do with all that money. Now, I think that's important to have those type of things. Also, who to trust when it comes to NIL opportunities. Do you trust a place like Sooner Scoop if they come to you and say, hey, we want to do a podcast, we want to do an interview, we want to do a show with you, who in the media can you trust when it comes to those sorts of deals? Those sorts of conversations need to be had, because I think there's so many athletes that don't know the landscape of it, where they can make money, where they shouldn't go to try and make money, because there's deals out there, I'm sure, that kids have been promised and they never got paid on.
Yeah.
Deals.
And we're going to hear a lot more of those, I think, here, as this move forward, as we get out of, this first
pretty much, I mean,
feeling out process or whatever.
Like I said it before, like I just kind of shut down things last year because there were so many people out there. Like, how many of those things even exist anymore?
Yeah.
Does the Boom Crew exist anymore? Does the Norman NIL Club exist anymore? I mean, Strength in Oklahoma folded in, so they didn't really bust or anything. I mean, but like, there's nothing out there anymore. Like, everybody, all these small businesses were running in, like, oh, do a podcast, let's do this. And I remember someone told me that a player, I think I said this before, a player came up to him and said, I wish you guys were still around because you were the only ones paying us. Like, right? Like, and this was like someone that did multiple ones of those. So it's like the Theo Weiss jersey, like, people were still complaining, like, when am I going to get my Theo Weiss jersey? Yeah. He transferred by the time they got their jerseys.
Well, that'd be really funny if he followed up with him and just sent him a Missouri shirt. I do think, though, that, like, and I've said this from day one, I think getting everybody under one roof would be good. Yeah. It's a positive, as long as everybody plays nicely. But at the same time, it's like, at the end of the day, everybody wants one thing. They're all aiming to get that.
Yeah.
Whatever, the 5-star or the top athlete in whatever sport. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the way that this kind of churns here over the next couple years, I guess. And I'm sure that when I say years, legislators or whoever, the government, they're going to get involved. They're already involved to some extent.
Yeah.
And
that's why the universities,
like, as much as they get involved, it's the worse it's going to get.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, if the university is in charge, there's some money taken out of players' pocket. If they get a third party involved, there's some money out of the players' pocket. So all of a sudden, you can't make as much money doing a podcast or whatever you're doing or selling a T-shirt than you could if you just found one person to do it for you. And I'm not advocating us being an NIL company at all, but I'm just saying that was my concern from the beginning, is that the more it's like, you saw these universities, and Oklahoma's just an example because everybody was doing it. But like, you see these groups like Altius Partners and all these people that are now, NIL. What do they call it when you call someone in to advise you on something? Consultancies, consultant firms and things like that. I'm like, what
greatest
are these
scam in the entire world, being a consultant to something.
Yeah,
anything, literally anything.
But people hire consultants all the time. I mean, we kind of hired a consultant when we were going through our stuff. So. With On3 and all the negotiating. So, I mean, there are reasons to use them and good people at what they do, but it's like, yes, there's a reason to have these, but you're not even doing NIL, and it's already taking money out of people's pockets. It's just a weird system.
My last thing on this is, and you can say whatever you want about him on the field, but Dylan Gabriel really knows how to do NIL. His merchandise is cool. Like, if I was in college, he's got some cool stuff. Him working with the Delta Gamma sorority, DG, obviously his name DG, like, just smart branding by him, which is good, because like, that's a guy that, he's probably not going to be an NFL starting quarterback, I would say. So for him to make as much money as possible right now is smart. So if you could have one guy to use as an example, which he is, by the way, on threes. I don't know if you guys have dabbled in any of the On3 valuation stuff, which is really cool to check out.
Yeah, look at that, yeah.
Dylan Gabriel's number 1 for Oklahoma, and I thought
Jackson Arnold was higher than him.
I don't think so.
That had to have changed then.
I
recently.
think number 2 is Deshaun McCulloch, and then number 3 at the university, I want to say, is Reagan Smith from the women's gymnastics.
Well, I'm looking at it right now, and the list, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Well, damn it.
General Booty's number 10.
The way that it reads on this, it goes Gabriel 1, Deshaun McCulloch number 2, Rondell Bothroyd 3, McCade Matower
that doesn't make sense.
4, Reagan Smith 5. They have his valuation, McCade Matower, is at $197,000.
What's his
Maybe they think he's
social
still
media
Jackson
following?
Dart from the ranch.
It's based off social media following,
funny.
I think, isn't it?
I know that
yeah,
social media
it's a
has
big
a
part
big
of it.
player
Like
in all
how many
of it.
Instagram followers, how many Twitter followers, all that.
Reagan Smith 5, Walter Rouse 6, Andrell Anthony 7, Jackson Arnold 8, Jaron Kanik 9.
Jackson,
General
you want to do a
Booty,
pod?
10.
We'll help you with your Instagram followers.
$128,000 for Jackson Arnold's his valuation.
I'd love to talk to General Booty about. I mean,
And he's done a really good job, and he partnered
No,
with
he
the Children's Hospital. He's given a lot of that money to the Children's Hospital.
You can
I
tell
know
he
he's
has
very
smart people
active
behind
with
him.
Yeah, I'm sure that he's gotten advice from his brothers and uncles and all that kind of stuff.
The poor man's Manning family.
I mean, I bought a Booty shirt. I thought it was
Did
great.
you really?
Yeah, I love it. It's a great shirt.
well, and
That's
that's
like the peach on the front. Yeah, it's a great. I think it's a really good shirt.
Yeah.
That's a kid, too, that I think a lot of people were like, well, maybe he'll transfer because he's not going to play. But think about how much more NIL money he's going to make at a school like Oklahoma selling that kind of merchandise than somewhere else, even if he is the third or fourth string guy. I don't know. It's all interesting.
It is.
It's going to change a lot over the next few years. There's going to be, I'm sure, more bills passed and things like that. But I do think it's – and this bill will get passed. Like, to be clear, I don't know if we cover that part of it. But the only reason it was not passed is because Stitt vetoed 23 other bills. Like, it's a very political agenda thing going on. And we won't get into that. But that is why it was not passed. It eventually will get passed, and I would assume there'll be more in the future.
How quickly would that come together? Do we have any idea how quickly everything would come together if the school, like, and I don't even know how that works, like when he could come back and approve it or sign off on it. Stitt, how would that be something they could get in works before the
Congress
start of the
can-
2023 season?
The Senate can actually override it if they wanted to.
Really?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if they do. But in terms of what you're asking, Eddie, I think they're already prepared. As soon as it's passed, they're ready to go. So I think it could be as early as this summer that they start implementing that stuff.
Sure.
I know that's what Arkansas did when that bill was passed, A&M the same way. So I think that you could see them kind of, in terms of meshing with the collectives, like that could happen this summer.
If nothing else, I think you would obviously want it in place before the impending move of everything that you're going to be dealing with in the SEC.
Yeah, honestly, I for me personally, I prefer that OU, be in charge of all that stuff. Like, pass it. I mean, like this softball thing, like we just give all that money to them and let them deal with it.
Yeah, I think it would simplify a lot of things, right? Did my mic just cut out?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Probably your headphones.
Oh, okay. I was like, I think I just cut out. Yeah, no, I think it would just simplify everything. It would make everything a lot easier is what I was trying to get out earlier. But I also made that really dumb comment about the boosters, and I'm sure the board is going to be like, this guy's an idiot. So,
Well, you're not a football guy, so
I'm not a football
Oh my
guy.
God. Okay. By the way, I should also remind people, I haven't stop on the conversions for your rival subscription to your On3. Also, I've had people 24/7 subscribers contact me and say, "Hey, would you convert mine? We'll try. Just hit me up." We do all now have Sooner Scoop emails, which is good. Just see Murdoch at Soonerscoop.com is the best way to contact me now. Now that we've broken free from the tyranny, we can have our own email system. So, yeah, you can, I'm sure, just social media, whatever, on the boards. If you need somebody's email, it'll just be on their signatures. So that's good to know. But, yeah, see Murdoch at Soonerscoop, Soonerscoop.com. Hit me up, and I'll get you taken care of. And everybody who's emailed me, I have seen them. I haven't been able to respond to everybody. There's been so much shit going on. It's been, and it will be next week until we can get that changed over. So all of a sudden, the urgency kind of moved to helping Eddie with video and other stuff around the office. All right, baseball, Eddie, golf. I mean, do we want to hit on either one of those?
There's really, I don't know if anybody would want to listen to like a breakdown of the NCAA regional, but they are hosting over at Jimmy Austin starting Monday. Free admission. I know that it's kind of the same song and dance that they've been through before. It's a lot of fun to go out to just because, A, it's really, really good golf, not just Oklahoma. And then B, it's free. And C, you can get as close as you want to a bunch of those players. Like you can walk down the fairway with most of them if you really wanted to. So if anybody wants to go out there, I would imagine they'll tee off sometime, I would imagine 8, 9 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And get out there and go support Ryan Hibble's crew. I know that George is going to write something about Ryan Hibble coming up next week before the NCAA regionals, and then obviously they are very much expected to advance, and they'll be going to Grayhawk in I guess that'd be 2 weeks. So
is Grayhawk, is that a like a super regional, or is that the national championships?
That's the national championships,
okay.
Yeah. And then obviously the 72 holes of stroke play that lead into the top 8 that make match play, and then that's on the Golf Channel and all that kind of stuff. So still time to send me to Scottsdale if you want, but it'll be a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody really expected this group to go win the Big 12 tournament, so
yeah.
Or the Big 12 championship. So they're playing really good golf at the right time, and you never know. Just get into match play and kind of see where everything lies. Need Stephen Campbell to probably play a little bit better than he did up at Prairie Dunes, but I think that'd be expected. He has had a really good season, so it should be a lot of fun. And then baseball out of conference play again this weekend, or I say again, this is their non-conference during
window.
Conference play, window. So they're going to Spokane, Washington to play Gonzaga, and then Bedlam baseball starting in Norman next week on Thursday, Friday, Saturday with Big 12 tournament the week after. Okay. Starting on Wednesday in Arlington. So, it's kind of all right.
What'd you learn from West Virginia?
Well, they lost 2 of 3. It was good that they won the middle game. And then, I know that there was a lot of, controversy would be the right way to say it, with the game starting at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And, they really could have just played a doubleheader on Saturday. But
Bob Huggins do that too?
Bob Huggins has done a lot this week. I don't know if he did the scheduling though for
Note.
What? I was just gonna say if
this is my problem with a live stream. Like people, do a live stream.
Well,
if Bob waving us off.
It seems like if Bob Huggins was, if it was up to him, they just would have played in hoods on Saturday. But it wasn't that bad. He still has a job. He just took $1 million pay cut. No big deal. But yeah, it's kind of weird because there's so much to be, played out here over the course of the next 2 weeks in Big 12 play. It's pretty hard to project where they're going to be in the Big 12 tournament or where they're going to finish in the standings. They did get good news last night with Ryder beating Duke, who's number 10 in the country right now. They might end up being a top 8 super regional type team or a national seed in the NCAA tournament. OU's RPI is now up to 41. And I think, in college baseball, if you're top 50, you're usually pretty good. I think they're still on the outside looking in, but if they could take 2 or 3 from, obviously have a good weekend in Spokane, win 2 or 3. If they could take 2 or 3 from Oklahoma State, which is, something of a tough ask still, they could probably finish top 5 in the Big 12. And I think that would probably get them in. We'll see, though. Kind of the same position that they were in a year ago. Ironically, they had a better resume last year and obviously better starting pitching and all that. You felt better about them going down to Arlington, but, it's kind of a we'll see. And they just need to win games and everything kind of take care of itself.
Well, it's good to see Cade Horton get a little bit of a call up yesterday.
Yeah, got called up from low A to high A. The Cubs could use him right now after walking in 2 runs last night. So,
did you see the Bobby Witt for the play yesterday?
Uh-uh.
Oh, he had an unbelievable play at shortstop.
Did he?
Yeah.
Seems like that's happening nightly. Jake Irvin had a really good second start he had a good first start against the Cubs, but he had another really good second start with the Nationals. Cade Cavalli's obviously having Tommy John surgery, which is unfortunate, but I think they have there's a possibility that half of the starting rotation for the Nationals are OU pitchers when it's all said and done.
Jeez,
So
shout out Jake Irvin. Good dude. Lived on my hall freshman
Oh, did he
year.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of making a name for himself right now in the Nationals organization, obviously in the starting rotation. So, it was cool to see Cade Horton. He's going to be in Chicago before too long. I wouldn't imagine at any point this year, but I mean, I
Probably
think
doesn't
he's
want to
already
have that many pitches on him this year.
Yeah, I
Coming
don't
back from
know
surgery.
how they're. I think that they're letting him go pretty. I don't think he's on a pitch count or anything
Really?
right now, because I know that he had struck out 21 in 14 innings.
But I could see them doing that thing where they're like, okay, you're only going until
Oh yeah,
this month of the year.
yeah, I could definitely see that. It will be kind of interesting to see how they bring him up through the system, and I don't know, it should be kind of fun.
I will have you know, Eddie, any requests to go to Scottsdale, there will be some investigations into the hospitality room. Because as we all know, you almost got yourself fired because of a hospitality room in Scottsdale.
John Shin's fault. John Shin's fault.
Does that mean we all get one puke in your car free? Like get out of jail free card?
Unfortunately, I think he probably just sent him to my car, and then I would have to deal with it. Isn't that the way that would work?
Yes.
I would say, and maybe he'll be out there listening, maybe I could just stay with Chance Cosby. 3 Pecans.
I love that dude, man.
I
love his Instagram
out in
channel.
Scottsdale. He lives out there.
If Chance will put you up,
I have a house. I don't have a house, but I have a buddy that has a house out there.
you're not that much of an owner yet, and the company's not that big yet. You are an owner. You just can't buy a house in Scottsdale with it.
No, I don't foresee that ever happening.
You don't have that much equity.
I wouldn't be out there that
There's not that
long.
much equity to have. No, I think Cosby is fantastic. And you ran into him in Norman.
Yeah, we were going over to practice one night, and I was like, holy shit, George. And I stopped the car literally in the middle of the street and yelled at him.
I used to know him from TikTok.
Yeah, for sure. Always making something good out there. But he'll be out there for the national championships and all that kind of stuff. So
I did add well, I'm not doing it anymore because I'm on, doctor's orders basically to not eat shit. But I did put cream cheese in with my Velveeta per the Mont queso recipe he gave out.
is it good?
It was pretty good.
I think I'm going to go to the Mont today. Celebrating my brother.
Oh, yeah.
Graduating this
Congratulations to your brother.
4.0. Nerd. And he didn't do it in an easy
I didn't
major
tell you
either.
guys this. I met George's entire family.
Yeah, I heard that. I missed him last week when they
Yeah.
came by the office.
My dad wouldn't shut up.
The whole crew.
I love your dad. He's
It's
the
a big
best.
Catholic family. There's like 7
They
of
are
you,
very-
isn't there?
I got him in a lot of trouble with the family too.
Yeah.
I knew, like from the talks
Nothing
that
that
we've
could be
had,
settled in confession. I'm sure.
I knew the hot button issues, and I was like walking down the hall, and somebody said something about church or something. And I said, something along the lines of, well, when he goes to church on a Sunday, it'll be the first time since I've known him, or something like that. And
Yeah.
he got so red in the face.
Why have you been telling him you're going to mass every Sunday with me?
Maybe.
Quite the move if that's what's happening.
Hopefully they stopped listening. I'll just tell them I'm not on this week.
Oh no, they're gonna find out that they were discussed on the pod. But your brother, if I saw your brother in a lineup, I would not say genius computer programmer.
No. He needs to.
You would be the guy I would pick as the genius computer programmer.
Well, I appreciate that.
Sibling lineup.
I don't know if that means that I'm good looking or what that means, but I mean, he definitely. I mean, he needs to shave.
I would say that's part of it.
He needs to
looks
shave.
like he's a professional lumberjack.
He needs to get a better haircut.
I think all that comes before a eventual move down to the DFW.
Yeah, when he
area,
gets
right?
to work and he sees like how well kept other people are, he's gonna want to start.
He
keeping
listens-
up.
He's a
He
senior in
listens to
college
this.
right now. He's living the best life.
Well, these next 2 months, he doesn't start till July.
That's
so
right.
He's just like you said. He's on a 2-month bender.
These were
They're going to Florida next week for a whole week. Him and his roommates. I mean,
Can you tell the rivalry that is between George and his brother? I mean,
well, the problem is
he's
we're the
basically
exact same
ripping apart
person.
his character because he wants to be the favorite with the parents. I can tell.
Well, I've already accepted my fate as not being the favorites. I was much more of a rebel when I was a child than anybody else, I would say, in the family.
There is nothing better than like give or take 2 weeks after you, or like even as you're graduating, and this even goes into senior year of high school kids, that you have no responsibilities. You're kind of coasting because school's over. You don't have to really do anything. High school might have been better just for the fact that you were still on the it was like 2 years. It was like 2 years is basically what it was. And it's just the best. It really is the best. Now, living in a college town,
You're saying this to the person
different.
that hired you.
Right. Am I fired now?
I'm just saying there are things that you shouldn't do around. I
I'm
don't like
giving-
calling myself your boss, but I will.
I'm giving life advice to the listeners that might be going through
And I'm
this.
telling them, yes, take his advice, but don't eventually tell your employer one day that hired you out of college these things.
that what?
That you just took off for 2 weeks.
No,
and went on a
I
bender.
think that you knew that. I think you supported that at the time too,
I think I did.
because I was living next door.
Were you living right over there?
Yeah, I think so.
You guys had like a big thunder
And I'm pointing to
flag
Essex
outside.
Square,
No.
the apartments.
Oh, the shitty one.
yeah, no, oh yeah,
Okay.
because that's where I lived my final semester.
Then when you got the Sooner
well,
Scoop money, you moved over here.
Technically, I think I was living. I can't remember how that went, but technically, I was living with a buddy because I woke up one night and basically like a downburst? Whatever.
No,
it wasn't
I
a
remember
tornado.
when that happened, yeah.
But the ceiling like lifted off the building,
Yeah.
and I was
that
displaced.
ripped apart my whole fence.
That
yeah.
wasn't the first time that I would be
And
displaced
that was
by
at
an
Essex.
apartment situation. Yeah, that was at Essex Square. That was quite the mood.
Yeah, I can't remember what that's called, but that ripped apart my fence and everything. That same event,
Yeah, it was awful.
like a down
Microburst.
burst or-
Microburst.
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 Yeah.
That was bad.
Anyways, Eddie, you're welcome to come out with us tonight. I'm playing dad.
Oh,
tonight
good.
with him and his roommates.
Good.
They're going out tonight on Campus Corner.
Little Wednesday night extravaganza in Norman.
I wonder what it'll be like on finals week. I mean, they don't even have finals anymore on finals week, really.
I noticed that a lot of the players are already gone. Like Dylan Gabriel's back at home in Hawaii right now. I saw that I think Jaden Gibson was flying out this morning. I don't even know. Do people still take like in-person finals?
It seems like it's more like projects now. Like my brother's final capstone wasn't a final; it's just a big project that he had to present or something. So I don't really know.
By the way, I didn't even tell you this, but there's another connection here. Whatever bachelor party that you went on when you first started here
Oh,
to Missouri
yes.
or something like that.
No, it was here in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yeah.
My niece is getting married to him. Not him, but getting married to someone that was at that bachelor party this weekend.
Who is it?
A guy named Braden.
I know Braden.
He spoke very highly of you.
Really?
She actually sent me a text and said, "Thank you so much for hiring George. I didn't know he was working for you. Braden met him at a bachelor party and said he was a very nice guy."
Yeah, Braden's he's a funny guy. I don't know him that well. We were
Okay, that's good because I was worried you're going to be at the wedding and that would be awkward.
No.
Are you? When's the wedding? This weekend?
This coming week, and I think I need to check my invitation. It's been a busy week or two.
Like
Why, do you
Saturday?
think you know the groove?
Oh no, I no. You just always kind of figure out ways not to go to the wedding.
Well, it's my niece. I can't avoid it.
Right.
Or my.
Well,
I call her
that's
my
why I was
fake
surprised.
niece.
Wait, I met her too. I think I don't
Riley?
know. We were intoxicated the
Okay.
entire weekend, so I don't really. I mean, I remember most of it, but
Hopefully
like
it was Riley and you didn't meet another woman that he had.
no, I think she was no, because she's friends with the bride that I know that's getting married.
Okay.
But yeah, Braden's a good guy, very good guy.
Yeah, well, I thought I probably should have told you that off the pod, but here we are. All
Shout
right.
out Braden.
Shout out Andrew Lane. Played golf with him over the weekend down in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And a member guest, big podcast listener. He said him and his friends. So
Take him some merch?
No, I didn't take anything.
You know,
That was this past weekend.
as a owner, you can do that kind of stuff.
I was trying to beat his ass. Wasn't trying to.
You didn't play on his team?
No, it was a member guy. I played on a team with my cousin.
Oh, okay.
I know we're going long here, and I don't think you guys touched on it earlier, but did we talk about the transfers last week? Troy Everett, Connor Neer.
No, we haven't.
No.
We haven't.
I don't know if we wanted to get into that.
Sure. Might as well talk some sports.
Troy Everett, obviously, a little bit probably bigger deal than Connor Neer. I don't know, just because I don't know really what to expect from a kid that's going to be making a jump from the D2 level.
Yeah, I mean, I think Troy Everett, honestly, will have a shot to start. I don't know whether that's at guard or center. Obviously, you have Andrew Rame coming back. McCade Matwire's coming back. But I think that they're looking maybe to shake things up there on the interior, and that was kind of why they brought in a guy like Troy Everett, who, I mean, I think he started 6 games last year at center, played some guard 2 for Appalachian State. So I think he could come in and obviously gives them depth. They just didn't really have a whole lot of depth up there up front, especially at center. You're talking about Nate Anderson, maybe, Josh Bates, who obviously they're really high on, but is young as a true freshman. So I think that was just kind of a depth thing. And I would also say, I mean, and I think he has more of a chance to start than maybe Connor Neer, but I also think that they're really high on him. I know that, like you said, he's a Division II guy, but you look at the way he's built, I think he's, 6'3", 230, 235. He could maybe play that Mike spot. I know that's what he told Josh that they're looking at him at. So, and I think that you look at that and you say, okay, well, Danny Stutzman's back. He's going to be the starting Will. And all of a sudden you're plugging in, either a Jaron Kanik or, Kobe McKenzie there at the starting Mike. And I think maybe in Venables' head, as he's a perfectionist, is, well, these guys haven't done it yet on the field. Let's bring somebody in that, we've seen the tape. He's competed. He fits what they want to do. He's a smart player, and have him maybe push them. I would still think, though, if, perfect outcome, Jaron Kanik or Kobe McKenzie goes in and takes that spot from day one in fall camp.
But at 6'2", 235, and all of a sudden, and, I think Oklahoma's been in this situation before where you all of a sudden look up and guy gets nicked up here, and then, somebody goes down with a season-ending injury, and they kind of found themselves in that spot a year ago with TD Roof, just as far as, he's going to be great, he's going to be able to add depth, and then all of a sudden you look up and you have no depth at that position.
Yeah. Well, I think that they knew that they could get better at that spot at Mike linebacker after Agwebu last year. And so I think, and that's part of why they brought in all these transfers is they just didn't have a whole lot of depth last year. And so I think that's, why they brought those guys in. And it wouldn't shock me if, one of those two guys ends up starting for them. I think Troy Everett's a guy that they really have high expectations for.
Now it's time for basketball.
It is time for basketball.
Well, I mean, we should probably address the Jordan Tyson, Jalen Tyson situation.
Connection there. Sure. Yeah. I mean, unless I'm wrong, I sort of read it as Jalen, a Texas Tech basketball transfer, and Jordan, a Colorado receiver transfer, were going to be a package deal if they ended up like at OU or Kansas. And maybe Jalen really Cal looked like the leader for Jalen for quite some time now, so that wasn't that shocking. But Jordan felt like coming after his OU visit, the Sooners were going to land him. And maybe it's just a case of Jalen wants to go to Cal, so Jordan goes Arizona State. It's not same school, but same area, same conference. Unless I'm reading it wrong, that's how it felt like to me.
Yeah, and I know from OU's perspective going into the weekend, I mean, I put up a note on the board that they were very confident that they were going to land Jordan Tyson. Obviously, over the weekend, he goes to Arizona State. Rashad Samples, who, OU fans I'm sure are familiar with, is the wide receivers coach over there at Arizona State now on that new staff. And it sounds like, obviously that's what, persuaded him to go there. And I think Rashad, was he at SMU when Jordan was at Allen?
That sounds right.
So
I think the timeline, yeah.
I think that's, obviously they have that connection there. So that's where he ends up going. I don't think OU will add another receiver. It doesn't, Bob, I don't know. It doesn't, there's not a ton of guys out there that you could really make the connection for. So I don't know.
It would be Keon Coleman, but
Yeah.
he went Florida State this last weekend, and I don't know. I mean, we saw that graphic. Like 60 different schools have reached out to Keon. So I guess you just got to weigh, is it worth putting forth that time and effort?
Yeah. OU has 1 in 60 shot to land him, basically, right?
So does Wright State.
Yeah.
I love that they were included in that graphic.
I'll believe anything after, what was the kid's name that ended up at like Sacramento State in basketball or whatever? Just a couple weeks ago that Oklahoma.
Johan
Yes,
Traore
the kid from
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara, that's right. The guy from Auburn. So
Yeah.
I'll believe anything. Although Santa Barbara's probably a little bit better off in basketball than Wright State is in football. I hate to break it to them. I don't think
Also beautiful.
they're
going
going to
to
get their services.
That'd be awesome to be like
100%.
a 20-year-old kid out there.
Make a little NIL money, live in
Yeah.
Santa Barbara. Yeah, absolutely. What is the status of OU basketball right now?
Go.
I mean,
That look in
we
your
got to
face.
go there. We got to go there. They have basically an open spot. Like, if they can find somebody that fits, they have an opening at the 4.
Yes, and they have to find someone, and that's why it doesn't matter how good they've done in the portal in the last month. They have a starting power forward that doesn't exist at this moment, so they have to figure this out very quickly as the portal window will close Thursday. Obviously, grad transfers can do whatever the heck they want, and as long as your paperwork is turned in, you can make visits and do all that stuff. But at least now we'll start to get a feel of who are the legitimate candidates of who they could be looking after, because it doesn't look like anyone that's visited campus up through the beginning part of this week is going to be a member of the Sooners. It still has 2 open spots. Obviously, power forward is 1, and then it's just, is it another guard? Do they stash it away for 2024? Is it worth just taking a flyer on someone and seeing if it works out? Porter Moser didn't do that last year. They stashed it away. So very intriguing to see what happens with that one. But more than anything, you've got to get a power forward, and you've got to do it now.
Great. Doesn't sound like there's too many options out there, though. Is that the problem?
I mean, you just don't want to settle, but you've reached the end of the portal window, not getting that guy. And the one you thought you might have had, Keshad Johnson, San Diego State. If he would have announced last week, OU would have been a 50-50 shot with the Trojans. But now when you add Arizona and Kentucky, and not just like token finalists, he actually is going to Tucson, going to Lexington. It's hard to see OU basketball winning that type of fight. So you kind of cross him off, and you're like,
just out of curiosity with him is, and I guess I don't know Arizona and Kentucky's situation, but do they have a spot to where they go, yeah, you could come in and literally start?
I would believe so, especially
Okay.
with Hunter Dickinson picking Kansas. Because Kentucky was kind of banking on that a little bit. And so now that opens up another spot for them. And then just that's the way OU basketball is played, right? Like you're the top spot until you're not. Where OU football is, you don't have to be the top spot. You just come in at the last second and kind of snag a kid away. And so you just have to sort of see Ryan Humphrey still following people on social media, still making the contact, still trying to make things work. So you're not going to throw in the towel just yet, but that power forward spot is still wide open.
All right. Not that depressing. Just I'm sure it's depressing right now for the OU basketball coaches, though, because
Ginny
missing a
Bronchek,
person.
she's on Team USA this summer.
I saw that. Or I heard you talking about that.
What is it?
Is she an assistant?
It's the
The
19
under 19.
19 and under
so
team.
she's the head coach?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, she's not.
I think she's an assistant, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I just saw the
the press release.
19 and under.
I think the exact title's on
She's
court
the
coach.
on-court coach. I don't know what that
They have
exactly
they
means.
have 2 of those. I don't know. It says at the bottom who the head coach is, though, of the press release, and I can't remember who it was.
Joni Taylor from Texas A&M will be the head coach, along with assistants Delisha Milton-Jones from Old Dominion, Terry Morin from Indiana, who they had an incredible year, right?
Yep.
And Notre Dame head coach, is it Niall Ivy? It's what's his name's mother, Jaden Ivey's mother
Yeah.
from
okay.
Sacramento Kings. But Yeah, will join Baranczyk as a court coach. So I'm really not sure what that means, but good for her. That's all. I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, that has to be exceptional. And they had a McDonald's All-American, right?
Yep.
Coming in. Power.
Yeah, I only see that program going up and up.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would imagine. I don't think that schools have like come after her, but I would imagine that is in Joe C's top 3 priority right now of keeping Jenny Baranczyk in Norman for a long time.
And who knows, Bob? Maybe someday the women's basketball team will be good enough to where the administration will build a new arena.
That would be something if it was the women's basketball team that got everything built.
That's what I'm saying. They're used to it with softball, so.
That move to the SEC for women's basketball, that's going to be the one to watch.
I do think, again, I keep adding things to this podcast, but I do think the next Board of Regents meeting will have some clarity on the future of the LNC.
Interesting. Is that just a bold prediction, or do you have some inside information?
From what I understand, they have collected the results
you're talking
of the
about,
survey.
Yeah, okay.
I think Josie will have a better
So basically,
answer for us in
whether
June.
they're going to launch that new initiative or relaunch that initiative, or just bite the bullet and say we got to start raising money for our master
and
plan.
I think that Board of Regents meeting is June 13th, so that's kind of the date.
They still have that one in Ardmore every year?
I think it's at the Health Science Center
downtown,
which is like across the street from me, so I will be there.
All right, that's going to do it before George can add anything else to the show. Just kidding. I appreciated it. This time of year, it's always appreciated. But we'll be back again next week. Josh will have been a little bit more off the road. And just remember, $1, 6 months on on3.com. Just type in Soonerscoop.com. It'll take you right there. If you want to, email us at support@Soonerscoop.com, and we can help you out online to figure out how to do all that stuff as well. And Soonerscoopstore.com, go check it out. Lots of shirts left. We're still hoping the best sells are still ahead of us on the Sleep, Eat, Run, Roll, Repeat shirts as regionals get underway. I'm sorry. Big Tournament gets underway, then regionals. Let's face it, we're looking forward to the regionals. So that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody listening. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.